Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over how I made a couple $100 on my accounts today. Nothing crazy, but let's get right into it. So coming into the morning, starting off with a 15-minute time frame, we had relative equal draw highs, New York and London pretty much in the same spot, and opening New York draw right here. Besides that, we had London low and Asia low, and that was pretty much it. Besides that, there was these highs, New York lows, and some internal gap right here. You can use this as a 15-minute gap or however you choose. I didn't really use it because the internal New York draw was going to be more effective than the 15-minute gap. And if we were to break through this gap, draws were higher, so I didn't really use that. But what I did do was sort of just waited for price to decide what it wanted to do. So market opened up, I think around, like right here. We kind of were chopping around before market open because we had taken out these three lows. We tapped into this smaller gap right here and went higher. And so my initial thought was we were going to manipulate to take out the highs to then dump lower, which is kind of what we did. We kind of took out these relative equal highs to then go lower. The one trade idea that I did not take was over here on the smaller time frame. So it would have been over here, right? So 6:30, 6:35, we put in where'd it go? Let me delete these real quick. Okay, so 6:30, we put in some lows, but we weren't really breaking below any of this. It's kind of just this entire area we weren't breaking. And so what I wanted to see was a change in state of delivery of this high right here to the upside. And so that did end up happening with this candle close. And so I wanted to target this high right here, this high, and this high right here. So those were the three targets for that trade. I'll show you right now. It would have been kind of somewhere right here for, let's just say right there for 60 points. This gap right here is, I believe, on a 15 or a 30 second. Yeah, so there was a gap right there. That's why I had that marked out. But back down to the 1 minute. I'm using the 1 minute because this is where the candle closure is. And if you would have taken this and had I would have put my stop, right at the low right here. So it would have been kind of a 1-to-1. That was the one trade idea that I had. Didn't take it. I just wasn't ready. Price action was a little bit choppy. I was also using some trend lines just for confirmation to sort of see where price wanted to go. I think I was doing something like this or something. I have no idea. I don't really use trend lines, but sometimes I will use them to sort of see where price wants to react off of. So we can see we were kind of bouncing in this range. We swept out these lows right here into this gap. Swept out the gap, V-shaped recovery again off of that line into this gap right here. Again on the line, still in this range. So we bounce out of the range into this gap to then go lower. Right, so those trend lines are just for visual representation. So yeah, didn't take that one. The trade I did get stopped out on was a continuation short right here. I was going short to target Asia lows, and that was right here. I was going short, and I got stopped out on the way back up. So we can see, yeah, we can see I went short, and I got stopped out. It did end up going a little bit shorter, but I got stopped out on the pullback right here, or wherever it was. And yeah, that sucked. So what I ended up doing was I took a long with 15 contracts. I don't really like sizing up after a loss because it puts my accounts in more red if I lose, but I was willing to take the inverse long into either this gap or the relative highs right here. And so the trade I took was on the 15-second, we had this V-shaped recovery. And again, we closed right here with a change of state of delivery right there. So I went long with 15 contracts. Got out right here. So that would have been, let's see, 413. It was the late entry, clearly, to 419. So what, 7 points? 13, 6 points. I can do simple math. So 6 points, 15 contracts, I think got me barely back to break even, if that or something. And so we came back down. We were kind of bouncing in this range right here. And so once we came back down, we put in this wick. I was like, all right, I'm going to go long again because we're at like the lowest point. Yes, there was a potential for it to, you know, put in this low, come back up, and then dump lower. But we had this V-shape. There was draws higher. So I went long, took this small little scalp right here, and that put me basically back to break even, or maybe in a little bit of green. And so that's when I decided to size my contracts down. So I went down to 3. So this was 49 to 47. Does that seem right? A loss? Okay, I guess I took a loss. Oh no, that's a plus. Right. Yeah, plus. Yeah, so price came up, retested back in this midpoint of the gap. I was like, there's no way I took a loss. Midpoint, and then as we broke through with strong buyers, added 3 more, so it's 6. So I got out again at the relative high, as I was mentioning before. So a little bit of a scalping morning because price action was not the best, but overall it worked out. The trade that the Discord ended up taking was kind of same idea, but they just waited for this 5-minute to get broken through. They waited for this 5-minute. They took longs to target the highs. So that one would have been perfectly fine too. I did not do that. But yeah, for, let's just say 75 points. Yes, I could have held my trade for longer, but I was over it at that point. I already taken a loss. I made my money back plus some. I just wanted to get off. So a little recap for you there. I'm going to try to not revenge oversize my trades because there's always potential to lose more, and that's not worth it. So with that being said, I'm going to end it there. Peace. I'll catch you guys in the next one.